Dust off your starter jackets, rip off those tearaways and blow into your game cartridges. I'm Sam Blanford.
I'm Sean Kelly.
And I'm Simon Blanford.
And we wish it was the 90s. So welcome to the first ever We Wish It Was the 90s podcast. I think I'll just throw it over to Sean to explain sort of the premise. It was kind of his, the name was his idea, so I thought Sean would be a good person to sort of talk us through the premise of our pod.
Well, obviously thinking big, when my great mates Sam and Simon came to me and said, we think we should do a podcast on Final Fantasy VII. And I said, obviously this will be super successful, so once we finish the game, we're going to need a second season. And suggestions were flying around. And when I noticed they were all from the 90s, that's when I realised that all three of us wish it was the 90s.
Fantastic. So yeah, you mentioned Final Fantasy VII. That's kind of what we're going to start with. And so the first series of podcasts, we're going to all play through Final Fantasy VII. It's a big part of my, I wouldn't say childhood, but sort of not 10 and up until 20. But we're going to come from it from a nostalgic sort of humorous perspective.
Long stint, 10 to 20.
10 to 20. And I think in this podcast we'll kind of discuss our experiences with the game. We'll talk a little bit about the characters, and we might get some time to talk about walkthroughs. So I wouldn't say we have completed the game hundreds of times. We are big fans of it, but I think we'll just talk about our experiences in general, but also specifically the 90s when we first played it. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but Sean is probably the most knowledgeable about Final Fantasy. He's probably played it the most.
I think that's a really good point to note, that despite being the most knowledgeable of the group, there is a real lack of knowledge here. So we could well get things wrong, or just clearly not know enough about the game. But that's okay, because that's part of the experience of being an amateur gamer.
We're nerds, but we're probably not Final Fantasy VII nerds, I would say. That's probably a whole nother subsection of person. Wonderful person, of course. But yeah, hopefully we will become Final Fantasy VII nerds over the course of next few weeks, nay, months.
Yeah, I think we were talking a week or so ago, and I don't really have a great grasp on the story. I know what happens, but I think Sean, you said something about Cloud.
Is he a clone?
Who is he?
Is he?
Not quite sure. But
we'll find out.
We will. Hopefully, I'll be able to follow the story this time. So Simon, I don't want to throw you out there, but I'd say you've played it the least.
Yeah, certainly. So my Final Fantasy journey, when we talk about We Wish It Was the 90s, began aptly enough in the 2000s. And third form, or year 9, as even it was called then. Edmund O'Keefe,
what a bloke.
One of the great guys, lent me his copy of Final Fantasy for the weekend. And yeah, I'd never really played anything like Final Fantasy, and sort of Sam and I, we're brothers, by the way, just in case there's someone who's not our friends that will ever listen to this. Sam and I started playing on a Friday, played till we were sort of forced to go to bed by Mum and Dad. We had no working memory card, which was a minor issue. So we joked about this earlier, but the PlayStation was just left humming, boiling hot all night. We Got up very early Saturday morning to play it. At some point, I'm sure we had a devastating death and had to start all over again because of the no saving. And then, yeah, did the same thing Saturday night, played it till it was humming hot all night. Got up again, played it all Sunday, and then sort of had to accept that the ride was over and just had to turn it off probably about halfway through disc 1, I'm guessing. So that was my first experience. But yeah, I just remember immediately being hooked by just sort of the vastness of it, really. And just it was insane to think that the amount of time and effort had been spent to create like a video game. It was just mind-blowing, really.
We were mainly, like a lot of the games we used to play were sport. We'd play a lot of the sport games, and so
Oh, we were jocks.
yeah. Well, in a way, now we're just nerds. I think we probably didn't have a memory card because the games we played didn't probably need a memory card. And I'd never. I think the best thing for me from our perspective was, I think you probably did a lot of the playing. But I had just as a great experience watching.
I have a similar experience. Like, I didn't own the game and was having a sleepover at one of my great mates growing up, Tony Barnett, and him and his older brother, who would have been about 5 years older than us, was playing it through. And I just sat there and watched it all weekend and went home and was like, I need this game. I need this game. I will delete my save file on my memory card of the Rage All-Stars to make sure that I can play this game.
Yeah, so I guess that speaks to the story of the game, which I, as I've spoken before, I can't really follow it. But you've played it since, Sean, and you speak of playing the remake as well.
Yeah, I finished it once, and then I think I finished it another time a few years later, and I reckon I've had 2 or 3 runs at it unfinished, just because of being an old man and life and things like that. And then I certainly watched Advent Children, the DVD movie, and then I got the remake last year in the first lockdown and completed it in the second lockdown. My only Final Fantasy VII content that I haven't consumed is Crisis Core, the PSP prequel, that by all accounts is a game changer for people who play it, because it's all about the character of Zack Fair, who is, he's in some flashbacks and he's mentioned in Final Fantasy VII, and so it makes him a bigger deal. But it's interesting, having not played Crisis Core and having some friends who have, they fizz for Zack Fair, whereas I'm more of like, I'm a Cloud, even though Cloud's a dick, I'm a Cloud guy, he's my guy.
I don't even remember who Zack Fair is, so that's.
Has he got black hair or something?
Oh, he looks like Cloud, but with black hair.
Just the mention of Advent Children and Crisis Core, you clearly know more than us.
I can lend you Advent Children. It's a sequel. It's not great though.
I think I've seen there's like a 7-minute YouTube video of them all like really good graphics, which I really enjoyed. That's about it in terms of.
It's certainly not as disappointing as that Final Fantasy movie that came out that I thought was going to be based on Final Fantasy VII, and it was just completely different. And I was like, surely you'd make this about Final Fantasy VII, the greatest game ever made.
Absolutely.
But not to be. Don't watch it.
Oh, I wasn't
unless you like
it. Did it come out in the 90s?
Can't remember.
If it didn't, we don't want to know about it.
Yeah, I think what's interesting, I think probably I do have slightly more knowledge, but geez, I've got a bad memory. And so, I've played it quite a few times, but like I said, I still don't know what happens in this game. I can't quite.
It's a hard ask for anybody with any great memory. I mean, just the size of the game. There's so many things I think you're naturally going to forget. just so much happens. It's just so
I
vast.
think as a 10-year-old playing that game the first time and finishing Midgar and coming out into the world map, like Midgar could be a game in and of itself.
It is the remake.
That could, but it's, I've played it. But like it's just like, and then all of a sudden there's 20 more Midgars to go. Maybe not quite as long as that first playthrough of Midgar, but there is a lot going on, man. There's towns that you could go to once and that's it, or you could go to 2 or 3 times and have, you can skip whole parts of the game.
Incredible, really.
There are some playable characters that you just don't even need to get.
And if you don't know how to get them, you won't.
We'll cover that in the walkthrough.
Yeah.
From my perspective, just going on from what Simon said, I think then we bought it. Like when it went platinum, I think we bought Final Fantasy, and we're like, yeah, we're gonna have a good go at this. But we just had not a lot of idea. I think we ended up with like Red and Vincent in our party, and like got to Hojo, couldn't get past him, and just gave up. I've never completed the game. I've got to the last sort of cave with you when you get the save crystal twice, and one time my data corrupted on the emulator, and the other time I think I don't know what happened. I just didn't finish it for some reason or another. So I'm looking forward to making my way through it and talking about it with you guys.
There's nothing better than getting into a big fight and putting Knights of the Round on with 4 times or whatever it is, and just sitting back and watching 20 minutes of those guys hacking away at your enemy.
That's one thing I do.
Nothing better.
That's one thing I remember with Simon was the graphics were just next level. Not now looking at obviously the gameplay graphics, I can see why people complain about it, but the cutscenes are still pretty impressive. Like I remember seeing Ifrit for the first time, the summon, and it was just like, couldn't believe it, eh?
I think even just when you cut into a battle from running around as a block man, and the battle graphics are phenomenal. It's like I don't. There's this particular scene towards the end of the game, and it's a cutscene with the high wind as they're going into the Northern Crater, and it's like I feel this, even though as you say, looking now, it's nothing special. At the time, it
certainly was groundbreaking.
Yeah.
So yeah, as now in our 30s, we're really looking forward to having another go at this game. I think we'll look at our characters now, and we proposed something a little bit different.
Tell the folks at home, Sam, what we did.
So we're going to do a bit of a character draft.
I just got to jump in right now and say, and I have been hiding this from you guys because I know you're American sport aficionados, but I don't really know how drafts work, and I'm a little bit nervous.
So explain
tell Sean how this works then, Sam.
Yeah, I'll explain to Sean. So something that my friends and I will often do with certain things. So we're going to take the playable characters and we're going to do a little draft. Now, I've got 3 names that I'm going to pull out of a hat. And if your name is first, you get first pick. If you get pulled out second, you get second pick. And if you get pulled out third, your third pick. But it's a snake draft. So if you get the third pick, you get the 4th pick. But if you get the first pick, you get the last pick. So just knowing that, Sean, first thoughts, what pick do you think you might want?
If I got to pick first,
if you got to pick first, no.
Oh, sorry.
What pick?
In the order.
Do you think?
Still not fully understanding how the snake draft system works, I'd still like to pick first, but
Then knowing that you can't get Cloud though, you cannot get Cloud.
I assume that Cloud has to be in your team.
Yes, that's
Except
right.
for that little period where he's KO'd.
Yeah, that's right.
And you get to pick a 2 IC. That's why this draft is so important.
And also, because I saw you this afternoon, Sam, and I said I'd done no research, and you probably said you probably should. But I've written down names, and there are 7 names on my list.
Yeah, so Aeris, and she will be.
Oh, let me stop you right there, Sam. I believe her name is Aerith.
I will be referring
I
to
also
her
found
as
out
Aeris.
that her last name is Gainsborough.
Yes.
It would be like my last name being like Mancini or something. Like, why is Gainsborough is an insane last name for Aerith? But anyway, that's fine. Moving on.
I cannot tell you anything about the last name, but I can fill you in on the first name. Aeris was only on the US release of the game and was a translation error. Because Aerith is supposed to mean something to do with the earth or life. I can't, people are going to be blowing up at me in the slacks, but it'll be long after recording of this. But I know that it's a terrible translation.
Sure.
And it's supposed to be Aerith, but I'm going to let Sam call it Aeris because he wishes it was the 90s.
Simon, you'll refer to her as Aeris, won't you?
Yeah, I probably will. Yeah.
Gainsborough is just a name that runs in the ancients, obviously.
Oh.
Yeah. I think they're from Brixton.
So obviously Cloud can't be selected because he will be in all of our parties. You can select Aeris if you like, but I'll probably take her off the table as well.
Spoilers.
I didn't say anything. You didn't say anything.
Oh, he's taking her off the table.
There's definitely going to be spoilers. And so that will leave one person or one character that cannot be selected, well, won't be selected, basically.
Interesting.
Got one guess as to who that might be.
Yeah, there's a couple out there.
So, as I said, Simon, I spoke to Simon earlier today, and I don't know what you thought the character draft was going to be, Simon, but...
I really haven't been reading any of the messages in our group chat, obviously, because I had no idea that the draft actually means that those are the players we need to play with throughout the game. I just thought it was some hypothetical...
It's going to be pretty tough when you get to that Genova pre-Sephiroth fight on Disc 3 in the Northern Crater, and you actually have to have 2 teams operating at the same time. Although Final Fantasy VII does give you the luxury of slowly leveling up your players that you don't use as well.
Yeah, that's great.
So it's an honest system, though, right? We just have to trust that the people who we draft.
I'm sorry, I'm not carrying you on my mission right now, Vincent. But I expect that you are off training, leveling up.
I'm not going to be knocking on your doors, checking whether you are in fact playing Cait Sith like you said you were going to.
Okay.
I look forward to blowing up at my PlayStation and changing my team.
All right, so I've got the 3 pieces of paper. You're just gonna have to trust me. A bit of a
like we're supposed to trust Yuffie.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. All right, so first pick. I'll pull them out and then we can go through the draft. So the first pick is in fact Sean.
Oh no.
It'll be interesting to see who he gets left with. The next pick is Simon.
Yes.
And I think it's the dud pick, but I could be wrong. 3rd and 4th.
I don't know. I would have. Yeah. I don't know. I'm pretty happy with my pick, I think.
There's 2 guys I want.
So I'm first and last now. Is that right?
You are first.
Correct. You do know the system. You do know how.
I've worked it out.
Yeah.
I'm nervous.
Those clues. You figured it out.
So I've got a draft board here. Like I've got, if I get the first pick, this is who I'm going to take. If I get the second pick, these are the two options I want. And if I've got third, we'll see what happens. But
My list is purely plagiarized from Reddit. So
Really?
oh, yeah.
I'm going emotionally here.
I changed my 6th pick to the 7th. So they had my
Well,
6th pick.
you swapped Vincent and Cait Sith around, did you?
Look, I'm not divulging what my list is.
All right.
Sean, yours, please. Oh, just before actually you draft, it'd be interesting to see whether you're going off their stats. You know, like what's his vitality, or whether you're going from a story perspective. Sean, you seem like a bit of a story perspective person.
I'm 100% story. First of all, I don't know what vitality is, and secondly, I'm 100% story. Like if I play other games and I'm using a walkthrough and it says if you use this character, there's a better interaction, then I'll use that character.
Nice.
Only one pick for you then, isn't there?
Tifa.
First pick?
First pick, Tifa.
Good pick. Solid.
Yeah, I think I know that you guys are playing on Steam or whatever, but I think also the one thing that I thought about Tifa was that limit break, which can be a chore. But if I'm going to play it on the PS4, I'm going to back my 34-year-old reflexes and maybe my 35-year-old reflexes, because this could take a while.
So will you be wanting to take Tifa on a date, or will you be trying to get Barrett for a date?
I'm taking Tifa on a date. This is why I've picked Tifa. I ship Cloud and Tifa, as they say.
As the kids say.
As the kids.
So Tifa's off the board. Just was not the number one person on my board.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, all right.
Oh, look. I hope this is not the Trailblazers deciding not to select Michael Jordan. The 84 draft here. Sam Bowie, of course. I don't think this character is Sam Bowie. I'm going to pick Barrett.
Yeah, that's
my number one pick. That's my number one pick.
Yeah, that's my number 2 pick. But I'm an old romantic, you see.
Of course, no, I can't fault you for that.
How are you feeling about Barrett, second pick?
Right, we needed a bit of diversity in our squad, so really happy.
I think he's got a real good last limit break from memory.
He does, and he's a real good ranger. You know, like it doesn't matter as much, but you know, he's quite powerful. And if you work hard at the game, that the stats, I don't think the stats matter enough. As long as you're taking huge damage, personally.
You telling me Red being the best at vitality is not going to matter?
But I don't want to tell you anything about Red.
You should be telling us stuff about Red, because Sam and I, when we played it for the first time, for some reason couldn't figure out that Red X111 meant Red 13, so we called him Red 11 for about 5 days or more.
Longer than that.
I immediately forgot that his name was Red 13 because I always named him after whatever dog I had at the time.
That's something that needs to be talked about. Is
being able to name the characters. About how many times Sean Strife beat Sephiroth.
We should refer to him as Nanaki, but Red 11 will do. So I really thought Barrett was going to drop to me there.
Well, who did you think Simon was going to go?
Reddit did be good.
No, I didn't think. I thought I was gonna get Tifa at 3. Because I thought you would take Sid, and I'll take Sid instead at 3.
Oh, I thought Sid was going to be my guy at 6.
You're having a laugh, mate.
I thought you didn't like Sid.
Sid was high up my board.
Look, just throwing it out there. I've never played with Sid because he's an asshole.
There's a bit of a theme going on with these characters here.
Speaking of assholes, my 4th pick, I'm going to take
No.
Yuffie.
Yeah, I thought you.
Oh, wow.
I knew he would. That bastard.
Well,
I knew he would.
I hope you don't fuck up getting her.
So yeah, that will come in handy when we talk about walkthroughs. Yeah, so I know Sid's like good HP. I think he's got a real good last limit break.
The high wind limit break is phenomenal. Like,
Yeah.
not only does it take heaps of damage, but calling in your ship to bomb the enemy. Oh, this is phenomenal.
I do revel at when he's fighting, he has a dart hanging out of his mouth. Much like Scott Bonner has a dart hanging out of his mouth when he has a net at the cricket club. Yeah, I don't like how he treats Shearer.
No.
Oh, mate, I have no idea who these people are.
Surely you know who Sid is.
Oh, no. Yeah, Sid was a pilot. He was a
I
pilot.
think the real interesting thing about Sid is when I played Final Fantasy VII, I thought Sid was a real wild ducker. But having watched Advent Children and he's not in the remake yet, but just seen him in other forms of media, he's not that much older than the rest of the team.
So Sid Highwind.
Yeah, named after his plane.
Over under 39.5 years old.
Under.
Over under
32.
Oh, he's younger
Wow,
than
man.
us.
Younger than us.
Yeah.
Not younger than you, Sam. Exactly your age.
Yeah, he's born a bit after me.
For our first live recording, I'd like you to do it with a durry hanging out of your mouth. Thanks, Sid.
Yeah, so Sid and Yuffie, I'm happy with that. I think Yuffie's good at magic, and I think she's got a
She
decent
steals
limit
it all, the bitch.
Mm.
Oh, what?
I'm a bit befuddled now. My pick. Because, so people said there were lots of good things about Vincent on Reddit forums, because I can't really remember anything, but apparently one of his limits, you can't control him. He just like flips out all the time.
It's all of them.
All of his limits you can't control.
All of his limits. And then at
transformation.
some point, if he's confused, then he can attack your people, your party, as it were.
If he's on his limit break and someone gives him confusion, he could wipe your team out.
Yeah. and
Basically, if you're in a boss battle, you can't use his limit.
Yeah, so that was the reason I didn't end up going with him. Just because I don't have the wherewithal or the know-how to actually sort of counteract that confusion. And I know I won't be able to do that. So the other two options, of course, are Red 13 or Red 11, as he likes to be called, Cait Sith. And I just can't bring myself to go Cait Sith. So I don't think this is a very smart decision. It's based purely on nostalgia. But hey, we wish it was the 90s. So I'm going to go with Red 11.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
As much as I hate Yuffie for what she does to the team, there is no character who I despise more than Cait Sith. His placement on this team his placement in this game literally takes me out of it. You know, like it. I understand Golden Saucer. I'm all about it. He's part of that world or whatever, and I don't know this weird plot line. He's working for Shinra. He dies. There's a Cait Sith. I don't know. It's really confusing. And so for that reason, I'm going to have to carry that loser Vincent. The worst limit break.
But it is a really good limit break, right? Like if he's not confused.
It's good early on because he just carves up and rips people apart. But
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the first time I got to Sephiroth and I was carrying him because I suffered from new character syndrome.
Sure.
Where every time I got a new character, they were part of my team. And I was terrible, you know. I wasn't even level 100. And I went with a limit break. And took one of my 3 characters out of the game. Well, I'm going to have to face those demons. Because I will not be Cait Sith. He sucks.
Yeah.
I would have taken Cait over Vincent.
I thought about it.
I think that's a smart move, but also he just sucks. Like, just morally, it's hard to take Cait Sith. I agree with the decision.
I reckon like I was 10 years playing the game before I realised that it was the little cat on top of that white thing.
Oh, same. Yep, same.
Well, when you told me that this time last week, that was the first time I realised that. So, yes, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, I reckon it was probably watching Advent Children and seeing him talk on top of that white thing and going, there's something on that white thing?
And that's also not exactly a huge passing grade for the graphics when we didn't even realise there was something on top of the fat thing.
In saying that, now that I've thought about it a little bit, I would be interested to. He might not even be an option though. But you know how when you're at the Golden Saucer and you're doing the snowboarding, and every now and then one of your characters will pop out and be like, "Hey mate, how about I have a go?" I'd love to see Cait Sith do the snowboarding.
Yeah,
but I just don't think. I don't think they'd run that cutter. I'd love to know. Let us know. Let us know on the Slacks, and we'll check it when we finish this thing in 23.
What's up? Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
I think the thing
Instagram.
I think when I figured it out was, you know how you like can select your party,
Yes.
and they've got the little squares that I was like their little faces,
Mm.
and it was like of a little black cat.
Yes. I guess I just wasn't paying attention to him at all.
What is that white thing? Is it like a choco mog or a mog or a?
Yeah. Look, there's
It's a
things
mog
like
that he magically brought to life or something. Apparently, I just looked it up then.
So it's like by the cat. I mean the Cait.
The Cait magically brought the mog to life. I mean, look, this
What
is a
was it
great
before
game.
that?
This is a great game, but it's a weak story point or character or something, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. And he does a betrayal, and it's hard to care because if you were really in control of the game, you would have looked at that little cat on top of that big white Stay Puff Marshmallow Man and gone, mate, you're not making the team. You gotta go play for the reserves this week.
So just in summary, we've got Sean's going through with Tifa and Vincent.
Tifa.
So did you ever call her Tifa?
I did 100% for like 10 years.
Yeah, a guy who I went to primary school with called her Tifa. No good. Tifa and Vincent. Simon's going with Barrett and Red. Probably my favourite crew of all three of ours, and I've got Sid and Yuffie.
Have any of you ever heard of the Final Fantasy VII spin-off, Dirge of Cerberus?
No.
I don't know much about it, but it's from Vincent's point of view, and I think it's like a third-person shooter.
Wow.
Yeah, I won't be playing it.
Lucretia's an interesting character who we'll get into.
Unless the patrons give us $100.
I guess that brings us to our last sort of talking point, to walk through or not to walk through. I think first time, I don't even know if walkthroughs were a thing.
Oh, they definitely were a thing.
I'm really interested in hearing Simon's understanding of the walkthrough hotline.
Yeah, this is my theory on walkthroughs. I think that, not sure if this is the case of Final Fantasy, because I think Final Fantasy is doable without a walkthrough. It's not easy, and I think you don't maybe maximize certain things, but I think it's still possible. But Sam and I also grew up on adventure games like Day of the Tentacle and Monkey Island. And those games were, I refuse to believe that anybody could do those games without a walkthrough. They're just outrageously hard. And my theory is, and I might be wrong, but when you bought those games, there was an 0900 number on the back, and you would ring this hotline to ask, how do I get past this point or something like that. And I reckon that's how they made lots of money. was making really hard games and having 0900 number hotlines where you would ring and ask how to get past a certain point.
Your parents would go, "What's this? What's this on the phone bill?"
It was probably patently untrue, but that was my theory, and I'm sticking to it.
I'm into it. I know I had walkthroughs to complete this game, but maybe not the first time. Like, as I said, I was Vincent and I was honking, so maybe that's why.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact that when I bought 8, it came with a magazine walkthrough from
Wow.
Gamesman or whoever it was, and it was great. And I wonder if subsequently, because I played 7, then 8, and then back to 7 a few times. I played 9, never finished it. But I wonder if the internet was more of a thing.
Yeah.
But when 7 came out the first time, it was like barely a thing.
Yeah, I'm going to say that they were definitely around because Sam and I went to this kid's house like crazy early, like 95 or 94, like real early, and he had the internet. He was looking at a walkthrough for Day of the Tentacle in like 95. So
Who was that?
I think they were around, but they just weren't much like the internet, right? They were around, but they weren't mainstream like they were in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Who was that looking at walkthroughs in 1995?
McDermott.
Mark McDermott. Shit.
I thought you were talking about Australian fast bowler Craig McDermott.
Craig McDermott, yeah. Well, this kid also wore copious amounts of zinc every day to school. So they had some similarities.
So I think I enjoy reading walkthroughs. That sounds really nerdy and weird of me. But some of them are quite humorous. So I probably won't like follow a walkthrough full on, but I will definitely have one that I'll dip into, read a little bit, and then just kind of play along. I just don't like missing stuff.
Yeah, I hate missing stuff. And if I'm not walking through, I'm spending so much time checking every single corner.
Yeah.
I've played
I
a
think
few
I'll
hours.
do it. I'll do it like the remake, how I did the remake, where I'll give it a good crack, and if I'm stuck, or I'm just panicking,
Yeah.
like Train Graveyard, straight to the IGN walkthrough.
That was definitely a time where I used the walkthrough because it's like I can't be bothered checking which ladders go where and which where I can get to and stuff, and just pain in the ass doing all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think I think we're all kind of in a similar position on the walkthrough, which is not good podcasting. But no, I think we all kind of agree with each other a little bit, right?
Yeah, I'll give it a red hot go of not using it because I'm back in my recent remake knowledge.
Sure.
But what's interesting is the remake's quite different, but because I can't remember the original, I really don't know how. Except for the very obvious differences, which maybe when we finish 7, we can do a remake episode where I blow your minds with the weird changes.
I think it'd be good to do that along the way. I think it'd be good to have your perspective in the Midgar part anyway.
Certainly that's where the remake stops, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So far.
I'll be using game FAQs. Just like to shout out to walkthrough that I used probably about 5 years ago, written by Steve.
Yes, Steve.
There's also, I think, apathetic aardvark is a good one. So just screw your IGN, go to game FAQs, Sean.
All right.
So any parting words or comments?
Well, for me, I'm just excited about playing the game and sneaking around behind my wife's back like I'm having an affair, but really I'm playing Final Fantasy VII. So that's going to be good fun.
That sounds like a meme.
Sean?
Look, I'm very excited. I'm also nervous about keeping up. I think committing to the PlayStation format limits me. but
Sure.
this is my favorite game.
Mm.
You know, so I'm pretty excited to have and I'm from my point of view, I'm looking forward to playing this game and then going, the remake really veered from this point of the game, or like those comparisons. Well, because I got to say that I know some people have whatever they want to have with the remake, but I loved it.
I'm gathering that.
Well, from my point of view, like there's a few story changes, but other than that, it's just I'm about the story, right?
Mm.
And it's just the story with better graphics and a way different battle mechanic. As far as the mode that I played it on, I think you can make it similar, but it's way different. It's not turn-based.
I think I'm looking forward to obviously playing the game, but podcasting. I think we've all got very, very different. We'll have different perspectives. Simon, obviously, having not played it in 15 years,
20.
20, yeah. So I think that'll be quite interesting. And obviously, having Sean's perspective on the remake, particularly in the obviously in the Midgar part. So yeah, we'll play through the to the end of the Midgar until we get onto the world map, and then we'll meet back and podcast about that part.
Phenomenal.
So sounds good. Perfect.
Can't wait.
Thanks for listening. Enjoy playing with Vincent, Sean.
Okay, insert special sign off here.